self-identified liberals say there have been times when they considered leaving America for good, like after NBC canceled The West Wing. I don't get it. You want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you want to leave? And have you ever seen the Eurovision Song Contest? They actually listen to that crap. Look, everywhere in the world, I'm sure, seems great when you haven't lived there. I hear people tell me Costa Rica is beautiful. I'm sure it is. You'll also get bitten by a snake on the flight over. The travel site Lonely Planet describes Sri Lanka as endless beaches, timeless ruins, welcoming people. And if you love child marriage, food shortages, and the strictest abortion laws in the world, Sri Lanka could be right for you.
As we showed you earlier, Maher didn't hold back when calling out celebrities who claim to despise their own country and fantasize about leaving. This week, he zeroes in even harder, aiming straight at woke liberals and politicians who never stop criticizing America while dreaming about some so-called perfect utopia elsewhere. And let me tell you, this one's going to be fiery. So stay locked in until the very end. You don't want to miss what comes next. All right, let's jump right in.
In America, you have to want to live here. I bring this up because there was a video that made the rounds recently by a woman who said she was a proud progressive and was running for state representative in New Hampshire, and yet posted this.
Is there a place we can move that people would be happy to have us, that we're not gentrifying or colonizing? I don't want to be a problem, but I need to get the fuck out of this country.
The fuck out of this country? The one you want to be elected to a leadership position in? What was your campaign slogan? America, a shining shithole on a hill?
Exactly. Have you noticed how ever since Trump first stepped into the White House, a parade of politicians and celebrities have been shouting about how much they hate America? Some are bitter because Trump regained power. Others are sulking because everyday Americans weren't buying what Kamala Harris was selling. And the excuses, they just get wilder. Take one woman from New Hampshire, for instance. She actually said, "I hate America because I think it's gentrifying or conquering other people." That's not just illogical, it's peak anti-common sense. These aren't facts, they're just recycled talking points meant to stir resentment and divide people. Yet they still try to sell this nonsense to anyone willing to listen.
Try this political message. Vote for me because I hate it here. Now, does America have big problems? Yes, I've often cited the America Sucks list.
Ma poses a question that cuts right to the heart of the matter. If these politicians truly dislike America, why are they even running for office here? Their usual answer is, we want to change it. But think about that. Do you really have to hate something in order to make it better? That's a weak argument at best. What it actually sounds like is a staged political performance. Emotional outbursts, dramatic one-liners, and empty speeches designed to stir the crowd without solving anything. It's outrage theater, anger packaged as virtue. And honestly, if someone holds this much contempt for the country, maybe leading it should be the very last thing on their to-do list.
Have big problems? Yes, I've often cited the America Sucks list. Things like being 54th in the world in infant mortality behind Cuba, 19th in literacy behind Russia, 72nd in female representation in government behind Iraq. A lot of work to do here. And is it possible for a country to lose itself so much that leaving it is justified? Yes, but we're not there yet, not by a long shot, and we don't need quitters. We need people who will stay and fix it.
We don't need quitters who pack their bags the moment things get tough. And we certainly don't need celebrities like Ellen DeGeneres, Rosie O'Donnell, and others who chose to flee the country when politics got complicated. What America needs are doers, people willing to roll up their sleeves, get their hands dirty, and keep pushing forward instead of running away. This country was built on grit, not retreat. To get back on track, we need courage, patriotism, and commitment. We need people who stay, who fight, and who believe problems are meant to be solved, not escaped. Some challenges are too important to run from. They demand boldness, decisive action, and above all, the will to stand and face them head on.
America isn't worth defending. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it.
Too many people forget just how fortunate they are to call America home. They look abroad with rose-colored glasses, picking out the few features that appeal to them while ignoring the reality. What they fail to see is that most of those so-called utopias can't even provide the basic freedoms and opportunities Americans enjoy every single day. The entitlement mindset has spiraled out of control. Instead of gratitude, we hear endless complaints, as if liberty, prosperity, and security were automatic rights that just appeared out of thin air. But they didn't. They were fought for, built, and preserved by generations who understood what made this country unique. And yet, rather than cherishing those blessings, too many choose to whine and chase fantasies, never realizing that those better alternatives almost always come with more restrictions and less freedom.
Self-identified liberals say there have been times when they considered leaving America for good, like after NBC canceled The West Wing. I don't get it. You want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you want to leave?
Now, here's the irony that has baffled me for years. Democrats and liberals love to complain that America is broken, unfair, irredeemable, a country not worth saving. And yet, in the very next breath, they demand that we throw open our borders and invite as many immigrants as possible into this supposedly awful place. They had not think about that. If America is so terrible that you dream of leaving, why would you encourage others to come here? It makes no sense. The truth is, they want it both ways. They paint the nation as a land of opportunity when it suits their political agenda, and then trash it when that narrative is more convenient. But you can't have it both ways. Either America is worth defending or it isn't. And millions of people risking everything to come here have already answered that question with their feet.
Nigeria and Sudan still cut the hands off of thieves, so if you're coming from San Francisco, do your shoplifting at home. And you might also want to do your protesting before you go, because protesters are routinely shot in lots of places. Gosh, it almost seems like the world is full of suffering, intolerance, and oppression on a scale we can't imagine. But that can't be true, because if it was, we'd be protesting it. It must only happen in Israel.
Undoubtedly, much of the world outside America is plagued by poverty, persecution, and outright repression. In countless countries, speaking out against the government could land you in prison, or worse. Posting the wrong opinion online can get you silenced, banned, or even targeted directly by the state. That is the grim reality millions live with every single day. And yet, liberals here insist that America is the source of all evil, while painting life abroad as some flawless utopia. It's a convenient story crafted to stir guilt and hostility, but it doesn't hold up to reality. The fact remains, America still stands as the global symbol of opportunity, freedom, and the right to speak your mind without fear of being dragged off in the night. That's why people from every corner of the globe are desperate to come here. The tragedy? Too many Americans are blind to that privilege. Instead of cherishing it, they take it for granted.
If, for your exile, you do wind up in some comparatively luxurious place like Canada or Japan or the UK, not that they want you. At best, you'll be trading a bunch of stuff you hate about this country for a bunch of stuff you'll soon hate about your new home. It took me only 4 days in Amsterdam to learn that while I admire Amsterdam, I don't want to live there. The buildings are cramped and shaped like needles. The food is awful. The TV's in a different language. It's wet and cold. The people are polite but cold, and they do a bunch of weird shit. The explanation for, according to my friend, was just remember they're high.
I've had the same thought myself. People romanticize Europe as if it's some flawless paradise, but once you look closer, the picture changes fast. Many of the regulations there are confusing, overreaching, or flat out controversial. Take the UK, for example. Under equality laws quietly baked into EU directives, companies can be hit with indirect discrimination lawsuits even if they weren't hiring in the first place. Scotland tried to pass a gender recognition reform bill that would have allowed 16-year-olds to legally change their gender without a medical diagnosis, but the UK government stepped in and blocked it. And this isn't isolated to Britain. Sweden has already lowered the legal age for gender reassignment to 16, also removing the requirement for a gender dysphoria diagnosis. Germany and Spain have gone down similar paths with self-identification laws. So no, Europe is not always the utopia people like to imagine. Beneath the polished image, there's a level of ideological extremism and regulatory chaos that many Americans would find shocking.
Make the list of great expat destinations because of all those stories on CNN about how you can buy a house in a quaint Italian village for $1, except it's not a house in the way we think of one, as a structure with plumbing and electricity and a roof. When these places were built, the Leaning Tower of Pisa was still straight. Sure, you can spend $100,000 to make them livable, and I'm sure it's no problem to find reliable workmen in rural Italy who you'll then fall in love with, like in Under the Tuscan Sun, but...
The reason so many Americans romanticize Europe is simple. Hollywood and the mainstream media have painted it as a glittering utopia. Through movies, glossy Instagram clips, and perfectly edited travel vlogs, people see the Parisian cafes, Italy's cobbled streets, or the sleek modernism of Germany and Sweden. What they don't see is the harsh reality of living there. Sky-high costs, crushing taxes, endless regulations, frequent cultural clashes, and speech restrictions that make America look wide open by comparison. Instead, audiences are seduced by carefully staged narratives and polished images that sell the illusion of a trouble-free life across the Atlantic. But then comes the rude awakening. Spend a few years actually living there, and the fantasy wears off. People quickly discover that the so-called utopia isn't much different from home, except for a handful of problems that the media conveniently never mentions.
Have you ever seen the Eurovision Song Contest? They actually listen to that crap. Look, everywhere in the world, I'm sure, seems great when you haven't lived there. I hear people tell me Costa Rica is beautiful. I'm sure it is. You'll also get bitten by a snake on the flight over. The travel site Lonely Planet describes Sri Lanka as endless beaches, timeless ruins, welcoming people. And if you love child marriage, food shortages, and the strictest abortion laws in the world, Sri Lanka could be right for you.
According to travel magazines and glossy lifestyle sites, paradise is found everywhere, just not in the United States. They bombard readers with dreamy photos, exotic anecdotes, and Instagram-perfect snapshots of faraway cultures, but what they never highlight is the darker reality hiding behind the postcard views. Many of these so-called safe havens run on political systems that clamp down on basic freedoms. In some countries, LGBTQ people can't even openly exist, let alone love who they want. In others, abortion is heavily restricted, stripping women of agency over their own bodies. Some governments even police public affection. Holding hands, kissing, or simply being close in public can land you in trouble. These aren't small inconveniences, they're serious human rights issues. Yet the travel industry chooses to sell a picture-perfect fantasy instead of truth. It's a well-polished ploy to sell clicks, tickets, and illusions, while glossing over the reality tourists should know before falling for the hype. And here's where the irony bites. Liberals, celebrities, and the glossy media praise these countries they barely understand, all while disparaging America, the very nation people risk everything to enter. If America is so terrible, why are millions still lining up, desperate for a shot at the life it offers? The answer is clear. For all its flaws, America remains the freest, most opportunity-rich nation on earth. Instead of tearing it down or running away when things get tough, we should working to build it stronger. And that's where we'll wrap today's video. If you want more takedowns like this, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because the truth isn't always glossy, but it's always worth telling.